Okay, we're jumping right into episode 5 of the Misfortune. Where we left off about an hour ago, I was eager to continue because of the crash. But luckily, I recorded an MKV in OBS, so the file, most of the 90% was there. So I was lucky enough not to lose any vital moments in our narrative in our story. And I'll be sure to look at the preview from now on so it doesn't look like I freeze mid-place doing this. uh, which would signal that the program crashed. But in any event, I also made another upgrade to our little production we have here. Besides the cable here and the camera, which is always going to be a problem, but that's just the space I have to work with, and then the light behind me, which kind of helps with this area here. I'm not really worried about my face, more worried so you guys can see this. This is where the action is. My face is just only for the emotional investment I have in the story. So we are currently leaving the forest region and we're about to get back on the trail. We just left the camp, so this page is obsolete for now. And what I did to track the several quests that uh, Reglor has in his pocket on a little note card is using Mythic GM Emulator's scene tool, or scene template, I should say. We're tracking three in the moment. The Fisherman family, can't forget about them, because we Reglor is from the village of Karen. We kind of have that emotional connection with them. We know them. We didn't really dive deeper into the lore as far as how well we know them, but I didn't want to bog down the story figuring that out. We can always unravel that as we get closer to this quest completion. So right now, we encountered them in the forest, convinced the misfits to spare them. We know the family. Then they basically, oh yeah, they're from. I have a little typo there. They're from with uh, uh, parentheses around it. Then they run off back to the trail. The characters are father, mother, son, daughter. That's all we know. The second of the three is the quake, which is this sudden tremor we felt back in the bandits, the Misfits camp. Tremor, about 3.0 on a Richter scale, just for personal reference for me. At the Misfits camp, origin unknown. We can kind of guess where it's coming from. If you've seen the map, I don't want to completely spoil it. Magician mentioned the familiarity and common occurrence of the. I completely spelled that wrong, but that's okay. Magician's the character. The third and main quest we're dealing with is the uh, the debt to pay. So I changed the name of the quest to debt to pay, and uh I did change a few things from the prior episode. I was not completely happy with it. I took away the items that we originally drew or rolled to. We don't know what it is anymore. It's a sealed box, and that's all we know as far as what is the box. We kept everything else the same. We know there's a character, a lady that we're supposed to meet named Belinda, and the magician has that little magical tracking bird that's spying on us as we progress this quest, as we venture off into a certain direction that I'm thinking about at the moment. How to get to the Legion of the Temple of the Legion, and that is it. So transport the well, now it's the box. So I'm gonna take that out and put box. Transport the box to Belinda at the Temple Legion. That's all we know. We are strictly in transporter territory, the transporter film series territory. So now let's continue our adventure of misfortune. So this is episode 5, and I forgot when the crash happened. The last episode I think I named it The Quest, I believe. I just uploaded it after some editing to splice together these two separate recordings. So we're not doing this anymore. Let's get a little closer. So we are currently hello. So we're currently traveling from 11 or 12 8, 12 horizontal, 8 vertical, the band camp. We left the band camp, so left band camp, bandit, the misfit camp, not band camp, misfits camp. We left misfits camp. We're going to be going, I believe, Gregor, I forgot my character name already. Breglor, like bread and glore. Breglor is going back the way he's familiar with, so he's going to go southwest a tile back here. So now we are at 11 9. 11 9. So southwest, and because of that, we're going to roll for chaos to see what is exactly is going to happen. Grab our dice here. Let's get the necessary blue and red and the 4 total. Now, as Reglar leaves the camp, he's heading back into the dense forest, though not too far off the trail. Does he have any suspicion of this quest? I'm going to say that's a positive. Chaos roll, by the way. 1, 3, so 4 to 2. He has a strange feeling that he's being watched, though he's not sure if who exactly is watching him. He knows he has a feeling he's being watched just from his general experience as a pickpocketer. He's going to look around the forest as he's walking towards the where he remembers coming in. So he's walking back. Does anything happen as he's walking back? Something does happen. Now, is it going to be something positive or negative? It's a negative. So we are going to deal with something negative, and that's going to be a small encounter with a wild animal. Now, this is our first encounter, and I want to throw this in there, though it's going to be an encounter with a wolf. Small threat against our character, Breglor. So Breglor sees the wolf. Now, does the wolf see us first, or do we see the wolf? Let's figure that out. Blue, we see the wolf first. Red, disadvantage, the wolf sees us first. No additional modifier on this roll. We see the wolf first. This gives us a chance to act. Now, in Karen, it's best to avoid conflict. Is he able to avoid the wolf? I'm assuming this wild wolf is in our vicinity, and we are close enough for it. Encounter with the wolf. With wolf. Threat level is moderate. We have to do a dexterity roll to see if we can avoid contact with this wolf. So we'll get a d20 out. We're going to, the wolf is basically eating a carcass of some wild a deer in the distance behind a tree. So we saw half of the wolf's tail. It's like eating, it's really happy. It's, fresh food. And Breglor suddenly stops, and we're going to roll a dexterity save to see if we can find a different path around this wild wolf. Dense forest, perhaps there's not really a lot of ways to go. So 14 or less. 2. We are easily able to avoid being detected by the wolf, though, because there's a one wolf out there, I'm guessing there is more. There are more. As Breglor gets closer to the trail, is there going to be, because there's one, I'm guessing there's more than that. Is there more than one wolf? There is. So we're looking at 9. 9 to 3. There's 2 wolves. So as Breglor is getting back to the trail, so we are back on the trail. I'd say that's going to be where were we before? 11-9. We're back to where the damaged. I don't think Bregler would go directly back to the ambush scene with the dead guards, the looted bodies, and the carriage. I think he's smart enough to go a little further south. So we're going to go to 11-10. But because of that, he sees two wolves walking towards the dead guard. And these two wolves are sniffing and sniffing. And they catch a whiff of Bregor. Shit, they do. So that was with the chaos roll. They do indeed catch a whiff of Bregor. So wolves smell Bregor. Bregor hasn't had a shower lately, so that's probably why. The odor of Bregor is a mile wide at this point, with everything we've been through. They smell, and their heads turn. You can hear them growl. They turn to Bregor. Bregor is helpless, standing there, and he has a couple options. He can flee, run. We can do another dexterity save to see if we can flee, or we can attack. We can defend ourselves at this point. Though I don't think we're at a disadvantage. We saw them. The wolves turned their head because they smelt us, and they saw us. They saw Breglor walking forward through the forest, avoiding the ambush scene. Because I think on Breglor's mind, he's thinking that there's going to be an eventual party discovering uh, the ambushed scene. And speaking of party, is there anybody that we can see in the distance at that ambushed scene? There is. So with that in mind, we're dealing with the wolves, and but in the distance, Regor can see some guards investigating the ambush. So there is a there's guards investigating the ambushed scene, which was that? What was that? Where do we essentially start in this whole adventure? Let me redraw, retrace my steps, retrace my steps here. That was going to be 10-9. 10-9, which was 10-9. It was a tile up from us. 10-9 is right here, right there on the map. You guys see it. I think more focused on the map than my notes. Okay, so guards investigating. So Bregler acknowledges the fact that there are guards in the distance. Now, are they far enough? I'm going to say they are. Are they far enough to not see the wolves walking up to them or to see our current situation happening? They are. Yeah, four. Okay, yep. 8-4. That they are far enough to be busy investigating who killed their fellow guardsmen, and they're dealing with that. So they don't see us. I don't have to note that down because they don't see us. The two wolves, though, they're coming towards us. Do the two wolves approach us? Yeah, they do. One fail for the no. They do indeed come up to us. So they're growling, they turn, and then they're looking at us, fresh meat. I think because the guards were further up, that kind of influenced them not to approach the carcasses that could have fed on, and so they're basically going to look to us now. Oh, hey, look, there's one helpless little person. So Breglor, knowing that there's a guard and there's guards in the distance, and I think if he causes any shenanigans with the wolves, then they'll come and they'll become another separate threat to us because, um, well, the see the guards might not know we are involuntarily part of the misfits, that we're not a problem, but if they're near this area of the village, they know of our reputation of being a pickpocketer. So either way, they'll think that because of the investigation of the crime scene, the ambush scene, seeing us running away is going to be inevitably a problem for us. FYI, when I keep saying us, I'm talking about our character. I'm gonna be doing that a lot, and I think I'm just gonna stick with it because if I keep saying Breglor, Breglor, I'm trying to force myself a correction when it doesn't feel right. So I'm gonna say us, the character. We're the audience essentially watching through the eyes of Breglor. And one thing I don't do too often enough is roll for the character. I am taking control, but what I want to do from time to time is throw some chaos in the factor, chaos in the adventure, and roll for what the character will do. So I think is are we going to let's keep this I think we're smart enough to flee at this point, which might attract if the wolves growl or bark or something, like run after us if we flee. The guard, right? But we always roll for that to see if the guard hear that. So, with the advantage of yes, will we flee? Like just run down south. So we can't head north now. We have to run south. We are. We're going to flee. So, um, we flee the wolves, but that was our choice. The outcome has to be based on the character. So I think it's 14, right? Yeah, 14. We have to roll 14 or less to see if our flee is successful. And it is, yeah, 10. So again, we have a really high dexterity, so that's great for fleeing. Avoiding combat is essential. Um, now the wolves, do they chase us? We're fleeing fairly fast. We're on our feet. Just picture, Jason Statham running through the forest. The wolves, because we avoided them, we're fleeing successfully. The wolves, are they going to chase us or even bother at this point? Well, I can't say that. That's two of the same question. Um, we'll do a chaos roll here. We did roll successfully fleeing them, so I think we outran them, which means they are now in the back. Now, with us running, do the wolves chase us essentially, but we did run away. So that's the issue I'm having here. I think we're gonna roll to see if they chase us. They do, yeah, they do indeed chase us. So with us fleeing, we bolt through the forest. We're avoiding trees and left and right, skipping through, trying to find our way back on the trail slowly, while kind of angling back onto the trail. The wolves are chasing us. So the wolves follow. The wolves follow. We flee the wolves, but they follow. We're not in combat with them. We avoided combat with that successful roll, but they're following us. So we're now does anything happen as we get into we're at 11:10 now, so 11:10 is right here. We hit the trail at 11:11. It goes to 11. So we're now at 11:11. Does anything happen here? So let's see. Always an advantage. Nothing really significant happens here. We're able to we're able to find the trail. Now, is there anybody on the trail where we are? There is. Okay, there is a party on the trail. What we can do is roll to the oracle. So let's and I'm gonna try not to use the oracles too much, but let's roll. Let's find out the party, traveling party. Okay, we basically uh there's a party encounter on the trail. Okay, and then now we're gonna do a roll. I really wish I could hide this from you guys. You know what? Let me try this. Sorry, sorry, sorry. There we go. That's a little better. I think that's where you guys were originally. There we go. Okay, we're going to roll for traveling party. We're not doing point of interest. We're not doing random encounter. We just going to decide the traveling party. Be funny if it's a fisherman again. 16. Hunt. Ooh, hunters. The wolves. Perfect. Okay, we run into hunters. Okay, party encounter, hunters. I love that. That is so freaking ironic. Okay, their reaction to us. Let's roll for it. 8. Wary. Okay, that understandable. We bolted out of the forest and we stop, and we see these hunters. They're holding weapons. They got some. They got some. They're pulling like a carriage. They got some dead wolves or whatever dead animals. They're just fresh off a hunting spree, and we run into hunters. They're wary of us. They see us. Let's go back to the map. That is brilliant. I love that. That it makes so much sense. Um, the die are telling a great story today. The dice telling a great story today. So I really feel like hiding this, but I have the map on the. That was my mistake. When I made the map, it was too much on the side, so I whole bunched it on the right to keep it on the left. But again, we're seeing too much of this map of this. What I could do is just pop it out. Because we always come back to that later. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep that. I'm not gonna toss it or anything, so it doesn't really matter. And that way, you guys can kind of see my notes if we have to. So we see the hunters. We stop. They're wary, so they're like they see us and they're like, okay, I think maybe one. How many are there? Let's say, is it I know there's a size oracle we can roll to. I believe there is. Let's see. Hunters. Yeah, let's get some info on the hunters. That would be good for the story. Hunters. We run into hunters equals the size of the group. Size of the group. Size of the group. I think there is a size. Yep, here we go. It's for settlement and structures, but I feel like using this for people too, for the amount of people. 17. Large. So five hunters? Four. Yeah, there's five hunters. They're not a gang, they're just hunters for a village nearby, and they see us. No, maybe they're going to the city. Yeah, they're going to the city. Going to the city that's down the road, literally. Going to the city of Galan. Almost forgot about that. They see us, and we're gonna do a will save to convince them. They We can see on their faces that they're really freaked out about just us popping out of the forest and then stopping like this, and then they're like holding axes, weapons like carvers, and everything like that. Um, I'm thinking of doing a not dexterity, a will save to convince them whether it's a lie or not, as they see it or as we think. But essentially, we got to roll to convince them that I'm being chased by wolves. I'm going to act like an innocent. So all I'm holding is a box in my backpack, my traveling bag. Um, so I'm going to try to convince them that we're being chased by wolves, and essentially we are. So I'm going to point and be like, I'm being chased by wolves, essentially, trying to play it innocence. So we have to roll 13 or less. Solid critical one. Perfect. So we convince them, convince hunters to help, hunters to help with uh, our two wolves. Now we rolled in convincing them of our story, but do they help us? That's the thing. That's a different. We convince them that our identity, that we are indeed in help, but are they going to bother? What we can do is we can roll to an oracle, what their motivation will be in their response, which might add some variety, but we can also simplify it to the roll. So will they help us? Oh wow, yeah, they will indeed help. That's 9 to 3. They do help us with the chaos roll. So they do help us. So I say 9 to 3 is pretty good, actually. That's a pretty good difference between the yes and no. So they do help us, and they put the guy who's the 100 who's pulling the wagon, puts the wagon down and grabs his weapon out, and they're like, where are these wolves? Because we mentioned earlier we're being chased by two wolves, and we point to our right. Now, are the wolves still chasing us, or in sight? Like, are they circling around the corner following our scent? Oh yeah, they are. Of course they are. 12 to 3. The wolves bolt around the corner and they stop, and they see the five hunters in front of us, in front of the wolves. So wolves appear. Wolves appear. Yep. Hunters ready. The hunters are ready, like they have the weapons drawn at the wolves. Now, do the wolves engage them? That's the thing. I'm going to say that's a disadvantage. That I don't think. the wolves are going to bother perhaps the well, let's see. There's a couple of roles we can do here. Are the hunters after a long day of hunting, whatever they're hunting for, they're probably tired or famished. So they're going to try to scare, yell, shout, shaking the weapons up in the air, try to scare off the wolves. They're going to try to scare off the wolves. Do they we can either roll, do they try to scare off the wolves or do they actually engage? Now, do they try to? I'm going to say they're going to try to scare off the wolves. They try to. Do they try? This is the rolling for the action of doing so. Do they try to scare off the wolves? They. Oh wow. Okay, that's not what I expected, but that was a chaotic roll. So some of them do. While let's say some shouts. Let's say some of them rush towards the wolves or like approach them. Some go after. Let's just say some go after the wolves, go after them while shouting. Now, do the wolves engage at this point? I'm going to say they don't. That's a 50-50. Do they blue is they engage, red is they flee. They engage. Oh, they sure do. Okay, so we're not part of this combat. We're not part of this encounter. Uh, we're gonna step back into the let's step back into the trees. Now, in doing so, that is another dexterity save because we're still in the area of the wolves, so we have to roll for 14 or less. Okay, so we're able to roll five. We step back into the into the trees, watching what's happening. Now, which keeps within our identity present in front of the hunters. We don't want to spoil. We don't want to sabotage our quest we don't know of the magical bird, magical feathered friend that's flying above us. Let's not forget that. Magician's tracker still active. Can't forget about that. Which might be suspicious why we're going south, but I don't know if the magician is like telepathically connected to the bird's sight or knowledge. We can roll for that. Does the bird have some kind of telepathic connection with the magician? Yeah, okay, yeah, he does. Yeah, so this is just some lore. Bird telepathic pathic connection with magician. So that just tells us that any wrong move we make might be suspicious. And because of that, it probably is, but we don't know. We know, but we don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. So I know I'm sorry, that gets confusing, but we don't know. Um, so that's happening right now. That's happening up there. What's happening down here is important. Now the wolves are fighting. We're staying out of sight. We're gonna be this could be out of character, but again, I think that we're gonna have to play this role for a bit. We're gonna we're gonna go west and try to sneak past. Our first dexterity roll was to not avoid being seen by the wolves that were hiding. That was our dexterity save. The action of going back, doing that Homer Simpson thing with the bushes. We did that. Now we're gonna go back west. So currently we're in 11-11. No, I'm sorry. We're back. We're back in the forest. Some shouts. I don't think I noted that we hid. Yeah, we hid. We hid back. Okay. We hid back in 11-10. So we're back there. Barely. Like we're barely on the edge. We could probably still technically be, I'm going to say borderline 11 and 10, 11, 11. So we hid. We're going to go back west. And as far as the little fight going on, they're fighting. The wolves are attacking some of the hunters and worn out. So most likely, one or two might fall, get injured, even more. Um, but I'd say that overall, they probably overpowered the wolves. Now, in the end, we don't have to really do the whole initiative roll because we're not part of the fight. Do the, or we could do the fight. I think with Karen rules, you basically, if it's multiple people against multiple people, multiple opponents against each other, you roll all their applicable attack dice. and you choose the highest roll. But again, we're not part of that, so I don't think it's necessary in doing so. We can solve the whole thing from a chaos roll advantage, yes. So do the hunters kill the two wolves? Okay, they do indeed. No doubt, dude. That'd be hilarious if they didn't. And that'd be like what the hell? So the wolves just go after us now? So the hunters kill the two wolves. Okay. And after doing so, after we see the hunters kill the two wolves, perhaps maybe one or two hunters got injured or they got a little, they're famished, they're tired after a long day of hunting. It's sunset practically at this point. I'll make that sunset. So down one day, seven almost. We're gonna pop back out and we're gonna thank the hunters for what they did. Thank you for saving our lives. We appreciate it. Do the hunters expect anything in return from us? I'm going to say that's a possibility. Now, so we thank them. We thank them. Do the hunters expect anything back? I'm going to roll 50-50 on this. They do. Oh, of course they do. They're expecting gold, basically. They want us to pay them for basically saving. They get a little greedy, but we're like, yeah, okay, fair enough. So we pull out some coins. We tell them. Do they ask us how much we have? Uh, some do, like in the background, like this 3-3. So some are talking like, what do you have on you? Like, what can you give us? And while others are like, just give us what you can. So I have 8 gold. I'm gonna spare them. I'm gonna give them 3 gold. It's not a lot, but I don't want to. 765. I'm giving them 8 gold. I'm sorry, 3 gold. So we're down to 5. I need some. So we give them 3 gold pieces for helping. They take the gold and they do this and they go back. They pick the wolves up and then put it on their collection of dead animals that I don't know maybe were threats, and they go on their merry way. So the hunters are out. So hunters are gone. Hunters leave. We are now uh, going back going back here. So we're now going back on the trail. And we're at a crossing point in the story. Um, we have to think about the options of going all the way around this trail. I did this map on purpose, by the way. Going all the way around or cutting through the shorts of these farms. I think those are farms. Cutting through the farms and just going straight to this town here to replenish, rest up. We might have to set up camp halfway through, but I think we're at that point. We're at a crossroads for this episode. Um, let's go next page. So we're currently, I'd say, we're standing at literally the intersection of 11 or 10-11 now. So 10-11, deciding which path to take. We can't go north because the guards are still up there. Now, can we see the guards from this distance? Let's see. We can. So we still see the guards are up there, and we're probably kind of peeking around the corner at that point. Though it is probably a half a mile away, maybe depending on how far we ran. Um, so we can avoid going north. I say going through the fields. Now, let's see what the Oracle said. Let's see the Oracle will choose for Breglor. Is Breglor going to cut through the farms? He is. That's 7-2. Breglor decides it's best to cut through the farms to avoid wasting time going all the way down here, running into more potential problems. So we will cut through the farms. Okay. So before I'm not going to do a full episode here. I'm going to conclude here soon, but we're going to start walking at an angle northwest into tile 910. We're entering the first farm, entering farmland. So most likely it'll be, cows, sheep eating. And what I want to do is roll to see what happens as we enter this first. Let's figure out what's how things feel. Now, as we enter, it's night. So now it's nighttime. So let's write that down. It's night, sunset. It's nighttime, probably like 9 p.m. or so. Let's roll for the feeling of the atmosphere. 18. It's loud. Crickets. There's a lot of crickets. It's really loud. Crickets in the background. They're chirping like crazy. And because it's outside, we need to consider the environment. So the temperature at the moment, let's figure this out. 9. Mild. Okay, so it's still mild. Let's see, weather. We don't do the weather all the time for each tile, but because we're entering a whole new zone within our map, I want to get that feeling out of the way. Mild temperature. Okay, the wind, nighttime. That does make sense. Still, yeah. So the Oracle knows. Still wind. Precipitation. Oh well, that can be anything really. 5. It's dry. Okay, it's dry. No rain to worry about. Snow. Okay, we can't do snow. Cloud coverage. 3, clear. All right, so it's not bad. It is almost the same. Those clouds are gone, so it's almost the same from earlier in the day. But as we're walking through the farm, uh, I'm going to say that we do encounter something to benchmark this region. So let's roll. Well, more so, I actually want to roll this. There's we did roll it loud. Let's roll for if we encounter anything. 1. We encountered a monster. Okay. Again, that's what happens when you roll to the tables too much. Encounter monster. But we've encountered if it's hostile. Encounter monster. Monster on the edge of the forest. Makes sense, I guess. Now, as a hostile, let's see. Oh, sorry, let's try it again. A little more juice to this. 4. It is barely hostile. And it's hostile. Now, what is it? Let's see. There is a list of monsters based on where you are. I'm gonna say plains. Monster, non-monstrous. No. Uh, well, we know it's a monster. It's plains. If we draw a dragon, there's a bunch of stuff. It is nighttime. Makes sense if it's a vampire. Let's figure this out. 3. Oh, it's a griff. Oh, it's a griffin. Interesting. All right, so griffin. Now, does the monster see us? That's the question. We're walking through the field, and I'm guessing the fields are pretty high up, and we see the griffin in the distance. Does it see us? It does. The griffin sees us, and it's barely hostile. So 7, yeah, 6, 7, sorry, 8. 8 to 4. It's barely hostile. I'm gonna put barely hostile. It's territorial. Something's going on with the griffin. So we encountered that. Our character already entering. That was my fault. We did that, and we just have to roll with it, and that adds conflict, and I love it. We encountered a griffin, a wild griffin, a big one too. I'm pretty sure they do get pretty big. So, uh, with that said, we are back to our map, and we are now enclosing on 910. So we're right here. We're right there, and we just encountered a griffin. Yeah. Now the griffin wise, before we finish the episode, is it a big griffin? I'm gonna say blue. It's a big adult griffin. Red. It's a smaller baby, younger one. It's a younger one. Okay, kind of. Yeah, it's a younger griffin. Peter Griffin. Peter Griffin. Love that part. So it's a younger Griffin. Stupid. So it's a younger, which means that will be Interesting little. Is this the Witcher now? But yeah, okay, we'll leave it at that. We have our hands on our weapon in the back. We're kind of our bald heads poking out, so the moonlight is sparkling off our head. There's a little moonshine, and um, the Griffin catches that and sees us, and we're like, shit. So yeah, that's where we're close. We're gonna end this episode 5, and the fact we encountered a Griffin out in the wild thanks to my genius of rolling for the Oracle. So, and luckily nothing crashed or exploded. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow.